Okay, so let's talk about what a top talent agent really wants today. Forget the old Hollywood playbook for a minute. We're diving into an exclusive look at Angela Marie Hutchinson. She's head of IP and talent ventures at RPM Talent Agency. And her whole mandate, it's it's definitely not just about landing the next big movie star or selling a script. It's way bigger. It's about building this whole ecosystem.
Right. And honestly, getting this kind of insight, it's like finding gold. It's super rare. This isn't just, some casual chat. It's a really transparent look into how things are shifting strategically in talent representation. What Angela's doing, it really moves beyond those traditional expectations. So whether you're trying to break in or you're already a pro, or maybe you're just curious about media leverage, this is definitely for you.
Exactly. So our mission here is to pull out the key stuff from Angela's thinking. She calls it her Mandate Monday Insights. We want to clarify her unique take on spotting and really growing what she calls intellectual property. And spoiler alert, a lot of the time, that IP, it's actually you and your brand, not just, a screenplay or something. Let's get into that. So when you look at who Angela represents, it's pretty broad, right? Actors, writers, directors, producers, content creators, the whole range. But the thing that really jumps out, I think, is her major focus on what she calls untraditional talent. What does that actually mean in practice?
Yeah, it's a really interesting shift. The source material gives some great examples. We're talking like medical people, lawyers, judges, fitness experts, even athletes. Though not necessarily for their pro sports careers, more for building a media thing or a content business around them. It could be anyone from high school up to pro level, really.
Yeah.
It just shows how many different kinds of professionals are now using media to expand their brand or their practice beyond just their main job.
Okay, so if she's hunting for this untraditional talent, what does that signal about her philosophy? Is she kind of actively moving away from the old model?
Oh, absolutely. Seems like her biggest red flag is someone who just wants to stay in their lane. She's apparently not the right fit for, say, a writer who just wants an agent to sell one script and that's it.
Yeah.
Or an actor who only wants auditions but isn't creating anything themselves. That kind of single focus approach, it just doesn't really mesh with her model anymore.
That's interesting. So staying in your lane is out.
Yeah.
But then where's the line? How does she avoid someone who's maybe doing too much, like an over multi-hyphenate without a clear strategy? That sounds like a tricky balance.
It really is. And she gets it if someone's wearing multiple hats because they have to, out of necessity. That's totally understandable. But if someone's just jumping into every single discipline because, well, they feel like it, without any real brand connection or a clear purpose behind it all, that's probably not going to work for her model. It needs to be intentional.
Right, intention. And she actually has a way to figure this out, doesn't she? Like an internal checklist or evaluation model for every potential client.
Yeah.
How deep does that go?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty detailed. And these are really crucial points if you want to catch her eye. She looks at their social media, not just how many followers, but is there a clear, consistent voice there? She definitely checks their Google footprint, like what actually shows up when you search their name. She even thinks about whether tools like ChatGPT can pick up on their public presence. And of course, consistency is key. Consistency in what they put out, their branding, how they engage with their audience. It's a full, very modern kind of audit.
Wow. Okay. So it's less about just raw talent and more about the whole package, what you're actively doing and how you present it. But let's break it down by category then. What about actors? We hear so much about needing massive social followings. Is that the main thing for her with actors?
Not always, actually. I mean, yeah, a lot of her clients might have, say, around 1 million followers. But she's definitely signed actors with way fewer and this is the key part, if they're consistently creating their own stuff, participating in trends, really showing off their voice or character work. Think like on-camera monologues, really good storytelling reels, maybe original scenes they've shot themselves. The focus is on actors who are in class, actively working their craft, maybe using improv or social media tools creatively. It's all about being proactive and visible.
Okay, that proactive vibe for actors, does that carry over to writers too? Because I bet a lot of writers are still stuck in that mindset of just submit the script.
Exactly. And this is where Angela really goes left when others go right. Let's be super clear. She is not the agent for a writer who just wants someone to shop their script around town and wait for calls. That's just not her game.
Right. So if it's not about just handing over a script, what does she want from writers?
Yeah.
You mentioned developing IP around their stories. What does that actually look like? Can you give us some examples?
For sure. It's about building this whole world, this ecosystem around the narrative.
Hmm.
So imagine a writer has, say, a rom-com script, right? But maybe they also have related products like journals or some cool merch connected to it. Or maybe it's a murder mystery script, but it connects to a real-world partnership, like a live dinner theater thing. Or even a TV show concept about a specific industry, like real estate or healthcare, where the writer is a genuine expert or has deep ties. That creates a sort of built-in interest.
Huh. So this idea of audience-driven extensions, that could mean things like fiction podcasts based on the world,
Yeah.
or maybe short videos teasing the story, even unscripted stuff.
Precisely. Yeah, maybe short-form prequels online or an unscripted series that gives you a taste of the world without giving away the whole plot. The absolute key is that these writers are actively out there, engaging an audience, building a brand around their content. They're not just sitting back and waiting for a green light from someone else. They're building momentum now. Yeah.
Gotcha. And it sounds like a similar thing applies to producers. She's apparently unlikely to represent a standalone producer. Why not?
Well, unless that producer is really building a broader ecosystem, it's probably not a fit. For example, if a producer is maybe creating a whole community for other creatives or they're running some kind of platform that supports other talent, then that community itself or that platform brand, that might be the actual IP Angela's interested in, not just the producer working on one single project. It's about the network, the bigger impact, which really circles back to the main point, right? Angela's title is head of IP. So her entire focus is on representing intellectual property, however that shows up. And that IP could be a creator who's got a business that's growing, or a professional with a really strong, compelling brand. It could be a community that's expanding and actually making waves, or, yeah, a story that lives on multiple platforms, not just in a script file. It's about that bigger connected vision.
And there's that important point about the early journey, too. Like, she gets it if your community is maybe just a dozen people right now, but it's clearly growing. She's happy to stay in touch, keep an eye on it. But for actually signing someone, she needs to see that consistency, creativity, and momentum. So the big takeaway really feels like you need to be actively building something with real intention and making it verbal, not just, having the idea.
Exactly right. And that leads us back perfectly to that non-traditional talent idea. Angela Marie Hutchinson is looking for people who are active in their main profession and also active building their presence, maybe on platforms like LinkedIn. So the example used was like a family therapist maybe hoping to become a TV relationship coach or wanting to write a book, build a speaking career. For that to work with Angela, you absolutely need a clear brand presence already. You need maybe LinkedIn articles or posts showing your expertise and your unique voice. You need an audience that connects with what you're saying. And crucially, you have to be willing to be on camera. That's non-negotiable.
Okay, so definitely not the person who just has like a great idea they want to sell. She wants professionals who are already putting in the work, building a platform through consistent visibility. They need to be ready, basically, to bring what they know to the screen. Could be YouTube Shorts, Instagram, a podcast, speaking gigs, whatever works, leveraging all the tools.
Totally. And just to give you a feel for who she works with now, she recently signed a fashion executive. She also represents an NBA agent. And both of them are working on expanding beyond their main roles into writing books, speaking, other media stuff. It really shows that multi-layered approach she's after.
Okay, but what if someone is just not comfortable being the face of the brand? Like maybe they're an amazing writer or strategist, but they really prefer staying behind the scenes. What's the advice there?
Yeah, she has a very clear recommendation for that scenario. Partner with someone who is comfortable. Find a co-founder, maybe an ambassador or some other public-facing talent who can really be the voice and embody the vision for your IP, whether it's a product, a service, content. That lets the primary person, stay behind the scenes doing the producing, the writing, building the actual thing, while their partner handles the public-facing part. It's about smart collaboration to make sure the IP gets out there.
That really opens things up then. So if you're maybe a dentist or a doctor, or you own a business like a pool company or home renovation, and you've got an idea for content, like a show or a podcast, Angela might actually be interested. What would make her say yes to someone like that?
She'd be looking for a few core things. First, do you already have a customer base or some kind of audience? Second, have you built a business that's actually making an impact? And third, are there unique, compelling stories you can tell through your work or within your industry? It's about finding that interesting narrative within the business and having proof that people are already paying attention to it.
Yeah, and there were some really vivid examples in the source material to make this concrete. Think about, like, a tattoo shop with this super loyal following, or an ice cream company that went viral for its unique approach, maybe a cruise company that does really fun interactive stuff, or a barber shop that's become a real community hub, even a travel host who's built out products or books around their niche. The common thread, the absolute crucial thing, is always if the audience is there. That seems to be the foundation.
So yeah, if we boil down what really grabs Angela's attention, it comes down to maybe 5 key things. 1, genuine star power, and she means charisma, clarity, confidence, not just being famous already. 2, a really well-defined brand. 3, a product, business, or service that's already working, proving itself. 4, a community or customer base that is demonstrably growing. And 5, super important, an audience that's actively engaged. Views, shares, comments, actual conversions, proof that people care.
Right, and that idea of impact is so key, especially thinking about authors. It's not just about writing a good book. Angela mentioned her own book experience selling around 5,000 copies of Yes and You Keep Hearing No. But even with sales like that, she said publishers really care about the impact. Like, is your work inspiring people? Is it shifting culture somehow? Are you growing a platform around it? Building a real community? It's about what the content does out in the world.
Definitely. And just quickly on content preferences, what she's interested in includes faith-based stuff, but it needs a strong, specific voice. Also, family-friendly material, game shows, interactive formats, those are things she actively looks for. And interestingly, video games are on the table, but only if they're kind of lighter in tone, not R-rated or TVMA stuff.
Good to know.
Right.
And on the flip side, what she's not really looking for right now is heavily political content, sci-fi, anything too raunchy or super dark material. Knowing that up front could save people a lot of time. Right. If your project falls into those categories.
Absolutely. And honestly, it's just so rare to get this level of transparency from an agent. It's really quite thoughtful. You get the sense Angela isn't just trying to build careers for her clients. She's focused on helping them build actual legacies by thinking about their IP and its broader impact.
Yeah, totally. So the bottom line is, if you've been doing the work, whether you're a creative, a business owner, maybe somewhere in between there, could be a real path here with Angela Marie Hutchinson. You could apparently reach her directly, angela@rpmtalent.com.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, listening right now. What does all this mean for you personally? How might understanding Angela's very specific mandate push you to maybe rethink your own IP, whether that's your story, your skill, your business, or your community? And maybe more importantly, how are you actively building its visibility and its impact out there in the world? Something to chew on.